Sounds good, man.
All right. All right. Three, two, and one. All right, and we're back to welcome back to the reserve squad. Once again, it is just the two of us. Rex, we missed you last show Sunday. I guess you were doing something important or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, we'll say that.
Yeah, we've scheduled we've scheduled another mini one on the week. Just kind of go over again what happened with the FA Cup final. And then Sunday, just a lot of bonkers results happened that have really set us up for really a fantastic Sunday finish. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And I'll try to I'll try to get Rex to talk a little bit about Arsenal and how they did versus Newcastle. No, it's not really something he wants to get into, but when I did schedule this, I was kind of a little more upbeat. I was thinking maybe we could talk them up a little bit, and so we'll get into that as well. And so with that said, Rex, thanks for joining me again.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I wish we could be talking about Arsenal, how they probably secured that fourth place. But I mean, we said last mini show on YouTube, we said we were worried that we didn't think they could get it done. Youth, injuries, a whole bunch of things that we'll get into. But
Mm.
it's good to be back, though. I like these mini shows, and we have some interesting news that broke yesterday too regarding the women's pay, and we can
Oh,
talk
good
about
call.
that too. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's always important to have a little mini show because we miss stuff throughout the week. So I'm happy to be here.
All right, excellent. And so I guess we'll get started with the FA Cup because we didn't like I said, Jeremy, Alex, and I kind of got into it Sunday night, but we didn't really get your perspective. So just to kind of set it up, the first half was pretty wild. I mean, it started with I call it the Diaz show. That first 15 minutes, it looked like Liverpool was maybe going
Oh
to
yeah,
run all over them. Maybe they saw that maybe they saw they could maybe exploit that left side because Chelsea were playing Chalaba. That he was kind of a surprise start, and I think maybe there's some issues with Christensen, or maybe he doesn't like Tuchel doesn't like playing Reece James back at center back anymore. But
hmm
Diaz was just kind of having his way. He got in behind their line a bunch of times, and it wasn't necessarily poor decision making. Just maybe you could say poor finishing. Just, there were a couple times maybe he could have squared a ball. There was one where Salah was kind of throwing goal that I was kind of disappointed
yeah.
with. But you just thought, okay, this is calming my nerves. I was worried about going into it, and that first 15 minutes was absolutely wild. And then after about minute 20 or so, Chelsea started to kind of get into a little groove, and they started to have the better of the chances. There was one by Pulisic. There was a cutback that yeah, he gets that on goal. I think that's in. I don't think Allison's getting to that, and so his shot barely goes
Yeah,
wide. And then Pulisic was again at the heart of it. I think he had a really nice dribble and then found Alonso that was kind of in on goal. And if not for a better first touch or a poor first touch from Alonso, he maybe scores. Allison's able to kind of cut him off, and he makes a really good save. And then that's kind of actually when all like the bad stuff happened. Allison got hurt. It looked like they were thinking at the time that maybe he'd have to be subbed off, and then in the middle of that, Salah went down, and so I don't know. That's kind of setting up the first half. Rex, what were you thinking during this?
yeah. Same thoughts on Pulisic. He looked really good. He could have scored, and he might have been able to get an assist too. Even though
Hmm.
the finishing he can't help. Someone missing a shot that he sets up. But yeah, he was easily Chelsea's liveliest player. I was kind of surprised Tuchel he ended up starting Lukaku, which was kind of weird. I think it was kind of like I don't know, maybe one last chance for Lukaku to stake his claim to even stay at Chelsea, let alone start.
Yeah,
And I mean, he did not do well. And honestly, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but you could kind of expect that just because he hasn't had a run of games really. If he comes in, he's kind of like off the bench. So I don't know. He looked a little rusty, and
he did.
it was yeah, it ended up backfiring. But I mean, I would like to see Werner in that game too. I thought it would have set up well for him, and we didn't see him either. So, but
Yeah,
at least Pulisic played well.
yeah, we'll get into that. I was really shocked that he didn't at least see any kind of minutes, like even in extra time.
Yeah,
That that
no,
that
yeah,
really that really did surprise me because he hasn't necessarily been great. But he hasn't. he hasn't necessarily been poor. The last few times
Yeah.
he's been playing, it almost like he seemed like he was maybe getting into some form. So
And
maybe
he's
there's
so
some,
fast too. That speed would have helped.
yeah, maybe there's something behind the scenes because in again in that extra time, Liverpool's back line was actually shifted a little bit. So bringing on
Hmm.
someone else to kind of just at least offer a run, give him something different. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That would have been. I was surprised that he didn't go with that. But we'll get into the second half. It was a bit of a reverse from the first half. It was Chelsea that started hot. Chelsea that were giving me a little heart attack. Uh, there was I don't know if you noticed this, but like it was in the first couple of minutes where it was a ball kicked over the top, and I think it was Mason Mount, and he was like 15 yards off sides, and he does something really cheeky. He like faked to go to the ball, and then like immediately kind of turned away, and it confused. I guess it was Robinson, and it might have been Pulisic or someone else that came uh, came running from behind, who was on sides and was able to get the cross off, and Chelsea almost scored on this. I think it was actually a really good save by Allison.
Hmm.
So you had that. I think there was an Alonso free kick or cross that like hit the post because it kind of fooled Allison. Another thing we should say is I don't know if you noticed this too. It was weird. Chelsea were wearing yellow. The FA final was played I guess at 5:30 local time, and the way the
Hmm.
sun was kind of coming down. One side was kind of shaded, but I guess Wembley is kind of a weird stadium. The entire half was like full, just there was glare everywhere, and I don't know if it definitely came across on the TV screen, but I don't know if it was that was done intentional. Maybe that actually maybe Tuchel was trying to get something at least on the field because the yellow with the glare, it was hard to kind of see them a little bit. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's true. On the TV, at least it was. I wonder, do you? Yeah, that's if Tuchel like planned that. That's just another level of meticulous planning, and it just shows how far these guys are willing to go to, have any advantage really.
I
So
mean,
yeah, that's a crazy thought to think about
so
because
they wore
they're
blue for the Carabao. I mean, it's red and
yeah,
blue. Red and blue seems fine. So I don't know. That's just me
weird.
kind of going into the conspiracy a little bit.
I like it.
And then, at the end of the second half, it seemed Liverpool were actually on the front foot, making the better chances. Robertson and I think Diaz both hit the post. And then, went to extra time. Nothing really happened there. But one thing I will say is Virgil van Dijk was not able to go, so they had to bring on Matip. And Robertson wasn't able to go, so they brought on Simicus. And so again, like Liverpool kind of playing with a different back line that final 30 minutes, and Chelsea really didn't create a
Mhm.
chance. So
Yeah, Matip came in, shut him down, and honestly, when I saw Samikas coming on, he looked nervous to me. So
right,
I was kind of
yeah,
like,
his first
oh, I
touch was
wouldn't be
like really
surprised
bad.
if he. Yeah, and I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if he made a mistake, but he ended up coming in clutch, especially in the PKs. So just really good depth, and I know I mentioned this in the script, Ben, but some of these players that have been clutch this year off the bench, they kind of they got a lot of minutes and a lot of experience last year
Hmm.
because Liverpool had so many injuries and stuff. So I think they're starting to see the benefits of that tough season last year, and the injuries made
That's a
forced
really
younger
good.
players to come up. I
I
mean,
mean,
Harvey Elliott was doing really well this year too before he got hurt, and he was one that came out last year. Matip, others like that. So it kind of has bolstered the squad with experience without even getting new players for the most part.
that's a fantastic point. I didn't even think about that, but just to kind of to add on to that, yeah, being a Liverpool fan, it's been so weird. So last year, like you said, with all the injuries, they had an awful January, and really
Mhm.
February. But even with all the injuries at the back, and they were fighting. I think they're in like eighth place before the start of the final 10 games. They ended up
Mhm.
winning every game, and I think they had a draw, maybe a draw in two or two, and they took basically max points out of those 10 games. They accumulated more points than anyone in the league, and they
Mhm.
basically went unbeaten during that stretch. And so, like you said, that they've kind of been groomed to kind of to kind of get out results maybe when they aren't even playing their best. And going all the way back to Allison getting at her to get them in the Champions League.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And so I mean the PKs were kind of wild. Two different two different keepers. We should say than what
Mhm.
featured in the Carabao. That was a little bit on Tuchel's part for subbing
Yeah.
Mendy out. But maybe you saw why, because Mindy got a couple got close to a couple saves. But
Yeah, I think he made like he got fingertips on two, I want to say,
Well, the first
and
one,
I think
the first one,
the first one
yeah.
he got a
Milner
lot on.
Milner went on, and he got a lot on, and then Firmino's shot was kind of weird. I hate when
Mhm.
people stop. That's just one of my things. I just like hit it hard and low, and don't have any kind of doubts. But yeah, Azpilicueta was the first one to miss, and it was kind of a surprise that he was really the second one to take.
Mhm.
He hasn't necessarily had the best season for Chelsea, you could say. I mean, Alex likes kind of ribbing him a little bit, and maybe that just kind of came in the back of his head. Even though he's a more of an established senior player, um,
Yeah, the
but
experience you think, yeah,
and it
you put
wasn't
it
like
away.
Allison got a save to it. He just missed it on the post, and
Mhm.
then Mane had a chance to win it, and
Yeah.
he flubbed his
Poor Mane.
lines. He's
Poor Mane.
going against his own teammates. That maybe freaked him out. But
Yeah, I think that that maybe got in his head a little bit.
had he actually won that, that would have been another notch maybe for a Ballon d'Or resume. But
Mhm.
still, it didn't necessarily matter because Allison's able to save Mason Mount, and then Diego Jota is able to get a must-win PK, and then Simicus. We mentioned that he was subbed on, maybe a little nervous. He didn't show it on the PK,
Mm-mm. Yeah, that was a good PK.
and so I mean, it's kind of wild. It's for the last couple of seasons, at least fans online have kind of ribbed Liverpool for like Klopp not necessarily uh, being very good in finals, and he's kind of started to notch a few to his belt on that as well. So with this, Klopp's now won basically every major trophy you can win in England, and
Mhm.
I don't think it's a coincidence that it's really the first season that Klopp's actually had a little depth to him. Um, to kind of talk on that, they lost Salah in this game. They were to bring on Jota. They lost Van Dijk, for that extra time. Maybe it'll bring on Matip. Uh, Matip and Kanate have actually been a pretty good pair when they played together. Um, we brought Simicus on for Robertson, and Simicus
Mhm.
has been really good when he's been able to play. And
Yeah,
so,
he's had to play a decent amount this year too.
like you said, oh, I'm actually seeing what you said about the
Yeah.
injuries, giving him some ample like time to kind of get used to it. And so you're right; they're not coming
Mhm.
on cold. Um, so that's just really the Liverpool focus. I guess we can talk a little bit about Chelsea. I guess would you being an Arsenal fan, do you feel like you're maybe closer to Chelsea, or do you feel like Chelsea's maybe closer to catching Liverpool in City? Because they've been relatively close before the injuries happened. The injury to Chilwell really took them out. But at the start of
Mhm.
December, they were neck and neck with Liverpool and Chelsea. I mean Liverpool and City. Chances created were about even as well, and their defense was the goal differential was about the same. And then you look at how they've played Liverpool in these two finals. Liverpool hasn't scored on them. They've
Mhm.
gotten by through PKs. So I guess there are two ways to really look at this. Do more optimism. Which one do you thinking?
I think Arsenal are closer to Chelsea. I mean, just because like I look at the table and they're pretty close to them, but at the same time, I mean they're not that close. Just because I mean Chelsea, you're talking about they made it to the FA Cup final and the Carabao Cup final this year, and they were playing in Champions League. Arsenal obviously no European games to focus on at all. Didn't really have that great of cup runs in both cups either. So I mean, it looks like points wise in the table that Arsenal are close to Chelsea. But I mean, with depth and everything, Chelsea have played a lot more games than Arsenal,
Mhm.
and like you said, they've been scoreless in both cup finals, losing on PKs. So they've been a little hard done by too. So yeah, I think Arsenal closer to Chelsea than Chelsea closer to Liverpool and City, but that gap is still kind of pretty substantial. And but both squads are going to bolster this summer. But maybe the gap is shrinking still between Chelsea and Arsenal, and maybe after this summer signings, hopefully that gap will continue to shrink. But a lot of
Mhm.
work for Arsenal to be done, and we'll get into that too, just with more depth, better players all around.
And you could look. I mean, Chelsea might be on a bit of a rebound. You look at a couple of their main guys. I mean, I think Rudiger, I think, is out of contract, and I think
Mhm.
it's already been announced that he's off to Real Madrid. Andres Christensen, we mentioned he didn't play in this game, and there's been a lot of speculation he's maybe off to Spain too, maybe Barcelona. Thiago Silva
Mhm.
is 36 or 37 now, and you don't imagine he's going to necessarily be. I mean, he's still great. He was fantastic in this game. Um, Lukaku's been a mess. Werner didn't see any
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, I wonder what
Jorginho
will happen with Lukaku too. That's going to be interesting.
and Conte's legs haven't necessarily been what they were in past seasons. Jorginho's the only GM. Jorginho was fantastic in this game, but you
Mhm.
do see I mean, they can maybe call on bring some players back that they've had on loan. Conor Gallagher, Billy Gilmore, maybe Broja, but it
Yeah,
could be it could be maybe a different Chelsea. So
and new owners too. So yeah, it'll
yep.
be an interesting summer. I don't know. I would imagine the owners will try to splash the cash and kind of set a precedent of, hey, we're going to back the club with the money and the players. But we'll see.
Well, I mean, something we maybe threw around, I think, on Sunday is there is speculation that Lukaku, I mean, not Lukaku, Robert Lewandowski might have played his final game for Bayern,
Mhm.
maybe looking
Yeah.
for a different challenge. And if you got rid of Lukaku and put Lua there, I don't know. For some reason, I always saw like Kai Havertz as kind of being like maybe Thomas Muller's replacement for Bayern. So maybe
Ooh.
you could kind of recreate, Lua and Havertz together. It kind of changed a little bit how Chelsea have played, but that would be
Yeah.
maybe interesting.
Yeah, that's a good call. Actually, I think that would be very interesting. Yeah, Havertz in the Bundesliga again too. I mean, he'd probably crush it. And he had periods of good form for this Chelsea team this year too. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's interesting.
All right, and so that was the FA final, and Liverpool were absolutely knackered after that. I was kind of assuming, I was already making jokes that maybe two people were going to play versus Southampton, and out of nowhere, maybe some of that some of Klopp's planning changed because of what happened with Man City and West Ham. Um, what a crazy game this was.
Oh,
We mentioned last week that City did have some injuries at the back, and they finally did show up. Thanks to Jared Bowen, just really turning around and just showing everyone how good he's been this entire season.
yeah, he's been incredible to see.
Sometimes you can have great stats, but it really takes a performance, like in a big game, for people to kind of recognize that. And well, what a game for him to show up, because the two goals he happened really were on his own. He's able to make two runs that just City just weren't expecting. Both goals actually looked like they were maybe offsides. It's really clever runs.
Yeah, yeah, they're really close.
And we'll get into it a little bit, but Zinchenko is maybe at fault for both for not marking them. And to be fair to him, Zinchenko is like, I think he's an attacking midfielder. I don't even think he's a left fullback. And it's been kind of wild how the last couple seasons Pep hasn't addressed that at all. He spends 100 million on Grealish, and Grealish finally
Mhm.
shows up for them in this game. Um, but this entire time that weakness has been there, and you also saw, I think, in this game what happens when Kyle Walker isn't there, because he's kind of been their
Yeah,
safety blanket for those runs in behind too. And
definitely.
it's one of those things where just Man City looked kind of to be on fumes. And but that said, they still kind of regroup. They're down 2-0 at halftime. They come back again with the early goal by Grealish. There's a deflection, but it's a good play by him. He actually had a pretty decent game. To be fair to him, he was finally taking players on. That's been something
Hmm.
weird too. Too often he's been almost passive. And then there's a Sufal own goal, and frankly, it was one of those things where, like, after they got the second, I assumed the third was coming.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the way City's been this year, and they do get the PK to go their way, and out of nowhere, it's not like Mars missed the goal, but he doesn't take the best PK. It's a great save by
Mhm.
Fabianski. He just dives the right way. I was stunned Kevin De Bruyne didn't take that. Um,
Yeah, and especially like the PK was not that great. It was a comfortable height too for the keeper. So yeah, I mean that's another hindsight thing, but I feel like De Bruyne would have buried that.
and so I don't know where to really start. Rex, were you actually? I mean, were you kind of like me? Did you think maybe West Ham at least had a chance to be competitive? Um, we mentioned
Yeah.
some of the injuries beforehand, but
Yeah, well, they're so like leggy too because they had that long European journey, and
true.
they didn't make it to the final either. So I was wondering if that was going to hurt them.
Oh,
I don't
big
know if
that's true. Big assist to Frankfurt for this game because
oh yeah, yeah.
had they been in the final, I don't think Bowen plays. So that's a good call.
No, probably not. Yeah, probably not. And then it was Mark Noble's last game too, so I don't know if that kind of helped. But I'm just looking at the stats, and they're insane. 31 shots for City,
Mhm.
8 on target, 79% possession, and they had almost 700 passes to West Ham's 189. And then West Ham only had 6 shots, and Bowen had a couple of those himself. So just looking at the stats, it was like wow. Without seeing the score, I would have thought City would blow him out of the water. And that might be like another striker thing. Like next year with Holland, maybe they win like 4-2. I don't know. I'm worried about them getting a striker because
True.
that's a lot of shots. 31 shots. That's a ton.
I mean, and it's also another thing too, because like I've kind of fallen into the trap too that like oh Holland's not going to help them when it comes to like build up and clever link up play, and it's like Holland's maybe not going to press as much, and it's like City are going to dominate possession anyone they play with. It's not really going to matter.
Yeah.
Just be a number nine, be there for the box. So I see what you're saying.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh yeah.
One thing we should say when we talk about West Ham though is we talked up Bowen and we obviously should, but Antonio was amazing in this game. He didn't
Mhm.
he didn't necessarily, have any kind of assists or I think well, maybe I think he actually did. I think it was his ball for maybe the second goal. But he was great in the air. He had Fernandinho terrified anytime he got on the ball. Fernandinho was like backing back, and Antonio was able to kind of just advance the ball a little upfield. And I don't know, just kind of watching that, it was kind of a shame that they didn't have. So you have Antonio and Bowen as two players that could be outlets to try to relieve pressure, to try to keep possession a little bit. They feel like they needed one more person, and I don't know about you, but I was just wondering what could this West Ham have been just this season. Now I know they had injuries at the back as well. They lost Igbana, but I just what the season would have been for them had they just been able to keep Lingard or someone like that, because it felt
Oh
they
yeah.
needed one more person, to
Yeah, I would
maybe
agree.
maybe
Because
make a
well,
make a top four chase.
yeah, definitely. And this game, and recently too, Antonio's looked a little leggy
Hmm.
in some of these games. And you're right. I mean, they have like Yarmolenko. He scored a couple big goals for him, but just not the same. And I know they're like Moyes. They have to be frustrated looking at Lingard not even playing for United. And
Sure.
the reason why they didn't sell him or loan him back out was because they said he was going to play and he's not. And he was just fantastic last year. And I mean, if they had Lingard this year, I mean, I would imagine they would have been in the Europa League final at least. That would have gotten them over the Frankfurt hump, you would think, and maybe even lifting that cup. But yeah, I mean, they're doing well. I think they'll be in Europe. Let me look at the standing. Will they be in Europe?
Well, if they won that game, they would have been in front of United. I think it's close.
Oh, they're down two, and right now they're in the Conference League. So yes, still pretty good. They can still build on Conference League, and they might get Europa League too. So yeah, I don't know. I agree. They need a striker, man, or some just another dynamic person because this long cup run in Europe kind of it left Antonio looking tired. Bowen's had to rest some Premier League games too, so that doesn't help. So yeah, they just need more firepower. But it's a good season for them, I think, and they'll still be competing for trophies. They'll just build on this.
And they've got relatively good owners. And frankly, David Moyes has been very good at scouting.
Mhm.
People maybe laugh a little bit at what he did at United, though he didn't necessarily have the time. But when you look back, maybe that club was just kind of, you know, maybe that club was just kind of not the best place to go at the time.
Yeah,
Maybe that was the first cracks, to be honest. But
yeah,
what
I
he's been
think
able to
so.
do at West Ham's been amazing. And if he could just get a little backing, yeah, you imagine they'll be able to build on this definitely, especially
Keeping Rice
especially
this
to
summer
keep
would be
Price.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably like step number one for the Summers. Keep him.
And so to kind of stick on with quote unquote title race, Liverpool still had to play and beat Southampton to make this Sunday, really meaningful. And like I said, they went into this game basically. I think Klopp made 9 changes, and in typical fashion, just as the storybook writers would have put it, Southampton scores first. And it's basically the third game in a row in the Premier League where Liverpool have actually conceded first, and so uh, S- Southampton. It looked like they maybe fouled Jota, but play was allowed to carry on. There was a ball looped over the top that Redmond was able to run on. He cut inside, and feels like James Milner was maybe a little too late to kind of close in on him, and it just
Mhm.
kind of deflects off him. But that is that is what it is. But in kind of impressive fashion, Liverpool, even with the 9 changes, even with a guy that really hasn't played much in the league at all, were
Mhm.
able to kind of get back with first starting with Takimi Minamino, who there's actually a lot of talk after the after Saturday that he didn't even get an FA medal for some reason, even though
Ooh,
he was the leading scorer for both the car. He's the reason why they're in.
really? Hmm.
He's the reason why they won both cups. To be honest, he was the leading scorer for both competitions, and so it was good to finally
Dang.
see him get his due because that was a
Yeah.
fantastic goal he scored. There's a ball that was laid off to Jota. Jota chests it down, and Minamino has a really good couple of touches to get the ball out of his feet and to get a shot from the right side. And what's kind of funny is I don't know about you, Rex, but I don't think Salah scores that goal. Not just not,
Ooh.
not just in the
Yeah.
form, not just in the form that he's in, but Salah just doesn't have a right foot. I don't think he even tried that
Yeah.
because the defender is on him. If someone that tries to take that with the left foot, I think it's blocked. So that
True.
was it was one of those
Yeah.
times where it was not having Salah was maybe beneficial. I don't want to
Yeah. Weird to say, but
I
yeah,
don't want to I don't
definitely.
want to start anything, but just in that one situation, and then Matip's able to get almost like a I don't want to say a fluke goal, but just a lucky goal in that second half off a corner. There's the defender tries to like head the ball. Maybe it's Kyle Walker. Tries to head the ball first, and it kind of deflects off Matip. So there's just a crazy deflection that kind of goes in. Um, but it wasn't pretty. But Liverpool do find a way to get the 3 points and at least force City to win this Sunday. And
Yeah, it
so
was a huge game, especially going down early, 13 minutes in, and to come back and win just shows. It's kind of like the City comeback too, in a way, except they got
yep.
all 3 points instead of the draw. But it shows how good they are, how good Klopp is. It feels like nothing's going to stand in their way, except I guess this really good City team in the Premier League, maybe. But
Mm.
I mean, also Liverpool could win. Well, they already done the double. They could win a triple or quadruple too, which is just insane. I think we
Oh.
need to be celebrating that a little bit more. Even the
we'll,
double, we need to be celebrating it
we'll
more.
knock on wood. The double, you kind of think about it. It really is a celebration of the depth, because
Mhm.
I didn't mention Minamino, and him Ox had a couple big goals. When Liverpool, I think Liverpool were losing to like Leicester by like 2 goals, in one of those Carabao games, and
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, finally, I think the only games that Salah and Mane even played in was the semifinal for City. So yeah, it's regardless of what happens, I think I said it last week. It's been a fantastic and fun season. It's one of those where it's like Jeremy was kind of ripping me. He was like, "Oh, congratulations, you support a big club. This is supposed to happen." Well, I kind of think it. I look at Liverpool as still like an underdog because Man City have all this oil money. They have a $1 billion squad. Klopp hasn't been able to necessarily do the same things, and so
Mhm.
just to kind of just to push City with the way that they've been able to do. And plus, I remember being in your shoes following Liverpool.
Yeah.
In 2018, they lost to Sevilla um, in the Europa final to get in the Champions League. And I was like, oh, I wanted to get them back in, and then Liverpool were able to get in the following season because of Coutinho. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
they had some bad seasons that you had to suffer through for a while.
really did. The Roy Hodgson years weren't necessarily kind.
Hmm.
I'll, I'll, I'll,
Hodgson, Brendan
I'll put
Rodgers.
it that
Yeah.
way. Um, but not necessarily Hodgson, but I think Kenny Dalglish was responsible for
Ugh.
bringing in Suarez and
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
setting the building blocks. And Rogers wasn't terrible. Um,
yeah.
so I don't know. It was kind of a weird game. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about what Southampton did? Like it was kind of bizarre to me because they got the goal lead and it just all of a sudden it seemed like they like stopped playing. They sat back and they didn't even try to keep possession. They just kept giving Liverpool the ball. I thought the goalkeeper was actually really poor with the distribution. So
Ooh, that's a yeah. It was Foster. Oh, McCarthy.
it was
Okay,
McCarthy.
so he's yeah. So he's that. Yeah, that makes sense because just not playing a lot. And also, I was kind of I kind of was I don't know. I wanted to see Che Adams start, but I haven't seen him in a while. But he's been good. I feel like too. But I mean, Berger was good again.
Yeah, Broja was
But
isolated.
you said yeah, and he's been like that when I've watched him too. That's why I like when you look at his stats. I'm kind of like, wow. There, I mean, it's not like incredible, but
Mhm.
for Southampton being like the sole striker up there, being so isolated, pretty good numbers, really.
Definitely. Yeah. And so well, I guess we got that out of the way. We'll get into the top four, and get into Arsenal Newcastle. Um, it
Mm.
really not a whole lot happened in that first half. It was kind of we did mention Arsenal were kind of coming in a little labored, and you saw that basically in the first 20 minutes where I was surprised even Ben White and Gabriel were able to even go, but
Hmm.
it was Tommy Yasu that had to be subbed off first, and so
Yeah,
he was one of your better defenders, and you know at halftime you saw the stats and it was I think Newcastle had 66% possession, maybe even more than that, and they were the one that maybe creating the better chances. And you basically looked at Arsenal's lineup, and it was Tavares on one side and Cedric on the other, and you just like you just thought this wasn't necessarily a top four like back line, I guess you could
right.
say. And then
Yeah,
really you just got unlucky on the Ben White goal. Something weird happened even beforehand. I didn't notice it, but the commentator said there was like a bad throw that kind of gave the ball to Newcastle, and
mhm.
they were able to. I forget who it was, but someone recognized that Joe Linton was able to make a run up the line. It went unmarked, and Joe Linton is actually what a what a turnaround he's had. Eddie Howe's
Yeah.
turned him into like a pretty decent box to box number eight. Who
Hmm.
makes late runs, and he was brought in to kind of be like a number nine, and he was a bit of a bust, but he's turned into almost monster like. He's really had a good second half of the season, and that's maybe
Hmm.
credit to Hal. But
Yeah, I think so, definitely.
Joe Linton's able to get free, and he squares the ball to Callum Wilson, and I think if Ben White doesn't get there, Ben Wilson does. So like I can't blame Ben White for that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was a dangerous. He had to try to deal with it for sure.
and another thing we should maybe say is it was rotten luck for you guys to actually go against Callum Wilson. Um, he was on the bench for City, and I'm just sitting. I was sitting here thinking like a week ago, thinking, why the heck didn't he play for City? Because it looked an entirely different Newcastle team. To be honest, no, they played Liverpool pretty good. A couple weeks
Hmm.
back, but
Yeah, they did.
that was rotten luck for you guys because they looked really good at times, and
Yeah, looking at the lineup, I felt the same way. I was like, dang it. Yeah, I mean, Wilson, Saint Maximin, Guimaraes, and Joe Linton all there, and the defense isn't terrible. Target and Burn.
mhm.
So yeah, I looked at the lineup and was worried, and I was worried. I was worried just before this, just after the Tottenham game. Seems like the wheels have kind of fallen off the bus. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost to Everton because Everton have a lot to fight for, and no, it's almost like a well, injuries too, which need to be addressed in the
Well,
summer. But
what
it's almost like a hangover.
I should actually know this, but I haven't. I don't actually know what the points are for Arsenal. If Arsenal do lose, are they in danger of missing out on fifth, or are they fine?
I think they're fine. Let me pull up the table. Oh yeah, they're fine. They're up 8 points on United.
Oh,
So
there we
yeah,
go.
they're
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
They're
Jeez.
locked. They're locked into fifth at least. So not bad, I guess. Europa back in Europa, which I mean it's better than nothing.
I mean, and you can see. like the way West Ham actually they really focused on Europa, and I
Mm.
actually I think they made it. I think they would have gone through Frankfurt if not for they got like a silly red card by Cresswell,
Yeah.
like really
Yes.
really early in, um,
Oh yeah.
and Frankfurt are I maybe we'll get into the final that happened yesterday. Frankfurt are a team that really like to run and really like to counter, and when once you're playing down a man, I mean it's you got to chase them, and that's not fun. Um,
Yeah, and they got some good players that we don't, you don't hear about necessarily that much. So a little bit of like a dark horse slash underrated feel with Frankfurt.
And it's kind of wild. They like number 10th in Bundesliga. But
Yeah.
I didn't. I only watched them versus in the Europa. They were great versus Barcelona, and they were
Yeah.
fun to watch yesterday. So,
Well, they might have done the West Ham thing too, and just been like, let's just focus on Europa then,
well,
since we're like, we're safe, in the table. We're not going to get relegated, but we're not going to compete, for much. So we might as well, because now they're in Champions League with that win. So it worked out for Frankfurt for sure.
and so let's we kind of talked about it a little bit last week, but I guess this is more I guess final. I mean, what are your overall thoughts? I guess for this season, and I'm gonna maybe throw some scenarios at you, just to kind of see what your thoughts are on that as well.
Ooh, sounds good.
Right. So I don't know about you, but like so especially in that second half, one thing I saw, I actually paused it and actually like counted. I think I counted 5 times where Saka or someone else made a really good run upfield, and El Nini was on the ball and just didn't pass it. And he
Mhm.
either held up on the ball or like went sideways and safe. And like El Nini can maybe be a destroyer in midfield, but I think you guys severely missed Party down this stretch.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah, me too. That's a key, and Tierney too. And they got to figure out, like, I think they're trying to get Aaron Hickey as a backup left back, because I think they realize Tavares isn't good enough. Because
mhm.
I mean, it's 2 seasons now with Tierney, and he's been hurt a bunch, and if he's not hurt, he's a little beat up. So I think they realize now, which is a little too late, but they need another really good left back, because Tierney's gonna miss. I mean, Tierney's always going to miss a decent amount of games, I feel like. And then it's almost looking the same with Partey. Since we got him, he's been hurt a lot too,
True.
which is even more worrisome. So, I mean, because you look before the Partey injury, you're like, well, we got El Neni, we can throw in there too. Maybe Lakonga, but Lakonga hasn't necessarily panned out. So, yeah, they probably are going to have to strengthen the midfield too. And, it looked like we were pretty good, but now Partey might be injury prone as well, which just seems like an Arsenal thing. I feel like everyone's a little injury prone when they come to Arsenal, which is frustrating too. But
And so, I mean, injuries happen. You can't necessarily blame Arteta for that. But this is a scenario I'm going to throw at you. Um, one thing Arteta does have control over is he has decided on his own to kind of I want to say weaken the squad, but maybe reduce it with all the loans that he's done. And so
mhm.
I can't necessarily say because I didn't really watch them when they were at Arsenal. But I've seen, and I haven't necessarily watched them this year, but I've seen them be praised in their leagues. I mean, Guendouzi's had a really good season for Marseille.
Mhm.
William Saliba as well, and
Yeah, he's been incredible.
Maitland Niles has been playing right back for Jose's Roma. And you think
Yeah.
maybe you could have used him for this game. Maybe you could use all three for this game.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think Guendouzi's he's done. I think he kind of burnt his bridges. But
Hmm.
I mean, Maitland Niles was playing defensive mid some before we loaned him out to Roma. I think he would have done well there. And then another person you put in the script is possibly Torreira, because he's just
Right.
he's like a pit bull in the midfield. And I know, like, he obviously has his weaknesses, and he's not going to play that much when everyone's healthy. But you got to plan for the injuries, and there's a couple players on loan that would have been huge in these spots. Saliba too. I know he was unsettled kind of over here, so they shipped him back to France. But he could have been huge, because Gabriel and White were kind of banged up, and Holding's out, so he could have been huge too. I don't know. I mean, we kind of said in the January window, when they let go of Aubameyang, you got to replace him with a striker. But now it's looking like they should have replaced him with a striker, and maybe they should have gotten a defensive midfielder and maybe another fullback. So a lot of work to be done for sure this summer. But I don't know. I guess I have to be optimistic and be like, well, fifth place is better than last year. So we'll see. But man, Champions League would be nice. It just attracts a whole different caliber of player. and the
like,
money too.
and so one thing I'm gonna say is like I want to say football has really changed in the last maybe 8 years or a decade, because you could maybe get by with someone like El Nini,
Hmm.
being a defensive midfielder, but I feel like you need to be all around. And one thing that definitely showed up is Newcastle were very brave. I guess because they had nothing to play for, they pressed you guys
Hmm.
super high up,
Oh
and
yeah.
it like forced your defenders, and it forced your midfielders to be really good and comfortable on the ball to handle a press. And
Hmm.
it seemed really no one did. There was Odegaard,
No.
but Odegaard was kind of forced back too. He wasn't able to be creative going forward. And so
Yeah.
it's just
It was really nervy to watch Arsenal passing around so close to the goal, and I mean, you just make one mistake, or you take like a half a second too long on the ball, and boom, like the opposition's in for maybe a goal. So
mhm.
super nervous. I
Especially
mean,
after you went down a goal, knowing you
yeah,
had to win it. Arteta threw on like five attackers, it seemed.
five attack, and
And
Ramsdale wasn't that confident with his feet at times in this game either.
mhm.
Which playing out of the back, that hurts you too when your goalkeeper's not confident with his feet. And Ramsdale has been for most of the year. Just this game, I mean, Arsenal just looked unsettled and unconfident all around the pitch.
And so we should maybe talk a little bit about Newcastle. I mentioned actually on Sunday, Alex said something like, he was kind of upset that Man United might only have 100 million to spend for the for the summer. But one thing I brought up was like when you look at what Newcastle were able to do with 100 million, it's not you don't necessarily have to go for your Sanchos or your Bellinghams. To just
Hmm.
get one player for like 89 million. And so Newcastle went out. So they brought in a few of these didn't necessarily pan out, like Chris Wood, but they brought in Bruno Guimaraes, who I, we've only seen him a little bit here and there. But what a few games he's played in the last couple of months.
Oh yeah.
He's a defensive workhorse, press resistant. He scored in this game. He's got goals in him, and he actually to me he was like almost running that game, and it's almost like he could fit in almost any top six midfield right now. To be honest,
Hmm.
I think if you put him in City's team, I think he would. I don't think he'd be out of place. Um,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, I would agree.
they brought him. Kieran Trippier hasn't necessarily worked out. Maybe he's been great behind the scenes. He started off great, but he like broke his leg. But
Yeah.
he'll be back for them next year. So that'll probably help out. And Dan Burns has been really good for them. Dan Burns actually had the flick that created the second goal. So
Yeah, and he was another like cheaper signing for sure.
he's good on the ball, and he's an aerial threat. He's like 6'8". He's huge. We'll put it that way. Maybe he's 6'6". And Taggart's been good for them.
Yeah,
So
he has been good.
and so
And Eddie Howe too. Yeah, I mean they're going to be a force next season. You would think with all the current players, Howe, and then gosh, who knows how much money they're going to invest this summer because they got so much money. It could be like a city summer spending spree for Newcastle, which would be I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it would be nice more pressure on like the bigger clubs seeing
mhm,
the Newcastle up the table, but I don't like the free spending necessarily just because you have
yeah.
an owner that has a lot of oil money. you know.
And well, if you're Newcastle's perspective, you're not going to care just because you've had an owner that just did not want to spend for like decades.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Mike Ashley.
but I mean, I think that's a good it's a good shout. That's actually something I was going to ask is like, so you've seen what they've been able to do just with one transfer window, and they didn't necessarily have a whole lot of misses. I mean, Chris Wood was almost like done to maybe damage Burnley.
Yeah.
um, maybe they need someone else. Callum Wilson has been a little injury prone. But if this squad can stay healthy, maybe build on a little depth here and there.
Hmm.
What do you think Newcastle fans should expect for next season?
I don't know. I would imagine they'd kind of be like this season's West Ham. I would think.
Do you
Um,
think like Europe would be like they could
yeah,
maybe dream for Europe?
I think so. Yeah, because now with the Conference League being seventh, I think that's totally within reach. They're 12th right now. If they had, gosh, if they had Howe and some of these players the whole year,
Hmm.
I wonder where they would be, how high up the table they would be, because they'd probably be, I don't know, better than Wolves and Leicester City. So that would put them up like in eighth, fighting for Europe. So I think they could, and I mean maybe we'll see after the summer, but they could be competing for a top four spot, maybe if not this season, like next season, then you know the next season after that, at least with all this money. I just don't know. The sky's the limit for them.
If they get into Europe after just a year and a half, I think that's gonna fast forward a lot of people's timelines.
Yeah, and some more players will be open to going to Newcastle. Some huge players then for
Hmm.
sure.
Because you're right. I mean, their form since like January has been fantastic. I think
Hmm.
it's top six by itself. Um,
Yeah, it's probably what third best record since January, beating like Liverpool and
something up
City. I would
there.
imagine. Yeah, it's
I
got to
think
be
so.
up there.
Hmm. And
Whew.
it's just, yeah, it's scary how quickly things can change. Helps having being a Petro club all of a sudden.
Yeah, that oil money always
Uh,
helps.
but you mentioned how it's. I didn't necessarily. I kind of scoffed at him being mentioned for manager of the year because I've seen a lot of people in the press kind of throw his name out there.
Mhm.
He's definitely worth being mentioned, but he has done a fantastic job. But you get 100 million in the in the January transfer window when like no one else really does any spending. I feel like
Yeah, then it's not.
you're at least
Yeah, I
supposed to
agree
get
completely.
yourself out of relegation. So
Yeah,
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 I
yeah,
mean
I agree.
maybe good things for Newcastle fans going forward. Um,
Yeah, I think so.
and so kind of speaking, we mentioned top four. We'll stay on top four. You guys almost had a shot with the Spurs Burnley game because Spurs were not
Hmm.
necessarily that great. Burnley did
Yeah.
did what they normally do. They sat back. They made it difficult. And really, Ashley Barnes, uh, he's just caught in a really bad spot, and he jumps, and his hand goes up, and the ball hits his hand. It's unlucky, but it's the right call. They've been calling that all season long, so it's
Mhm.
just one of those things. I was personally surprised that Barnes even started. I was surprised Wanghorst was available. Wanghorst hasn't necessarily hit the ground running, but it's not like Barnes has either.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, true.
you figured had Burnley just gotten something, they would have been sitting pretty, to be honest. And so
Yeah, I really thought this was kind of Arsenal's chance for Spurs to slip up, because now they play Norwich,
yeah,
and that looks pretty easy. And Burnley was, fighting to stay out of the relegation spot. So I figured Burnley would come at them. But man, yeah, once I saw the result, I was like, man, I think top four is done for Arsenal because it also shows Spurs character. Like the last 2 weeks have shown Spurs character because they were in a 4 spot hole, 4 point hole, and they flipped it around. And this is another game, different from the Arsenal game where they kind of had to grind out a win. And yeah, maybe the PK a little lucky, but yeah, I agree. Like hands in an unnatural position this year is always going to be a handball. That's the new rule. So it is a PK, I think, just because of that. But the ability to grind out games, and I think that's kind of Conte too. And then we talked about them turning on the defense, another clean sheet here.
hmm
So I don't know, man. I think they got the top four locked up, and I think it really speaks to Tottenham's character as a team. As much as I hate to say that, kind of like the opposite of Arsenal. Arsenal kind of folded, and they had 4 point lead, and they folded under that pressure. And Spurs have done the complete opposite. They've just been kicking it up a gear, especially since that Arsenal game, and two clean sheets back to back too helps, and
hmm
they'll probably get a clean sheet against Norwich too to lock it up. So big things for Tottenham, I think, in the future too. And I keep saying this, man. I think it's going to be another big window for Tottenham to strengthen up. I mean, Kulisevsky too has been a great buy.
yeah, they,
Betancourt as well.
they did
So it'll
they
be
did well
interesting
in
to see.
January. In
Yeah, they,
fact,
they did really well.
in
Some
fact,
big players helping them.
it's kind of worked out because they were basically linked. People thought maybe they were going to get Diaz, and then Liverpool kind of swooped in last minute,
They swooped in and stole it
and
out
so
from
they had
them.
to they had to they had to do a backup plan. Kulishevsky's worked out for them. Um,
Yeah, he's been brilliant.
and frankly, he plays on the right side. Liverpool have enjoyed Diaz playing on the left, so I think it's worked out. Had they brought in Diaz, maybe he would have forced on the right because you're not going to move Son. So I think
Yeah,
it's I think
yeah,
it's worked
true.
out. I think that's worked out for both. And one thing that's kind of funny, I don't know if you remember this. So after Spurs beat Man City, they had a midweek game, and it was versus Burnley, and they lost.
Ooh.
After that,
I do remember that.
after that, Conte gave some crazy cryptic like post game where he was like, "Oh, maybe I won't even like end the season."
Oh, right.
There was a lot of speculation that this might blow up a little faster than we were expecting,
That's
and
right. Yeah, I remember that now. Good call.
then they lost to someone in the they lost to the team that beat Man United in the FA Cup and
Oh,
Middlesbrough, and
yeah.
that was it seemed maybe this was going to blow up on them. So I think you're right. The way Conte was able to kind of regroup everyone has been he's a shout for coach of the year. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think so. He didn't make the cut though, right? I don't think he made the cut.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, I mean, he's done a fantastic job, I think.
And so we'll move on to relegation. Frankly, it was another thing where we kind of got the results we wanted to make Sunday pretty meaningful. Or
Oh yeah.
if you're one of these clubs, I guess pretty heartbreaking or hectic. We'll start off with Leeds and Brighton. It ends 1-1, and really it only ends 1-1 because Leeds were able to get a goal in the 90th minute. Great touchline play by this youngster Gerhardt, who was able
Hmm.
to just create something out of nothing. He floats a ball. He floats like a cross that Struck's able to head in, and Leeds have kind of been a little knackered, really, through this entire stretch. We
Yeah.
mentioned that maybe Marsh had done enough. All of a sudden, Leeds do have a point. What's really big about this is this gives them a point over Burnley. But Burnley play Aston Villa today. We don't know what Gerrard's going to do with Aston
Mhm.
Villa. I would like him to rest everyone for City, but I don't think that that's necessarily what he's going to do.
Yeah,
Um,
probably not.
but if Burnley can get a point at least today, and kind of match Leeds goal differential is actually that really does force Leeds' hands, and
Yeah,
so
it's 20 goals difference from Burnley. Minus 18 for Burnley, minus 38 for Leeds. So that could be big too. Yeah, gosh, I didn't even realize it was that big.
it's just the Beasley thing. Beasley was just letting people score for fun, even though and once they lost Bamford and lost
Mhm.
a lot of their guys at the back, they're just
Yeah, Calvin Phillips had not had
right. They didn't have
the
Calvin Phillips for a
greatest.
lot of that too.
Yeah, Harrison too was good last year. They've had a lot of players that were good last year and just weren't good enough this year. But if they do manage to stay up, it's going to be interesting to see what Marsh does. I mean, they're linked to Brendan Aronson,
Right.
so that would be interesting to see. Gelhart, you mentioned, he's another young player that they have, and then maybe Bamford coming back to fully fit Bamford scoring 20 goals a season. That it'll be interesting to see if they stay up. I kind of hope they do.
I mean,
Kind of, I wouldn't mind Burnley going down.
frankly, if they don't, I think there are a lot of players that the teams could maybe look at, and I would take a chance on Bamford. To be honest, he was, his fitness has been an issue all year, and you
Hmm.
do worry about that. But he's got a lot of Harry Kane in him. To be
Yeah,
honest, he can. He's not just a number nine. He's pretty good with his feet. He can drop back. He can link up. When he does get chances, he does put them away. Um,
yeah. And
so
the speed of Dan James maybe on the wing, getting by, taking on opponents, and sending in crosses for Bamford would certainly help. You would think.
and that's what hurt them too, because Bamford's been out. They were kind of forced to play Dan James at center striker. He's like
Yeah,
5'6". That just did not work at all.
yeah. They're
And
basically just like, you're fast. Just try to break the line and we'll try to get you the ball. And we can't cross it into him because he's so short.
and Rafina is a pretty good player. I feel like we'll have
Yeah,
struggles.
definitely,
So
definitely.
maybe we'll see a different Leeds whether they stay up or not. You kind of mentioned it is kind of weird that owners didn't kind of see trouble ahead at January. It's one thing to kind of all of a sudden change managers last minute, but
Mhm.
you feel like Leeds and West Ham were two clubs that maybe could have changed their fates had they done some business. But
Yeah,
it's
true.
it's easy
Very
to say
true.
now. And COVID kind of hurt a lot of people, so we don't know
Yeah,
if the finances were tough or not. Um,
yeah, true.
and so maybe the wildest game even of the weekend happened in the late window. Brentford versus Everton. Um, I- out of out of nowhere, Everton actually get the lead. Jeremy was texting me and he was just furious the entire time. And then all of a sudden, a lot of controversy happened all at once. Uh, it seems like someone, it might have been Ager, is holding Richarlison basically by the shirt. It's pretty obvious to me. And Richarlison is annoyed by it. He kicks the ball in frustration. It like hits Ager's head, and Jensen immediately gets the ball and kicks it upfield. And Tony is really good, able to get himself between the ball and the player. And is it Braithwaite? A very
Yeah, that's right.
inexperienced defender, falls for what Tony's trying to do and brings him down, forcing a red card. And with that, really did kind of force Everton's chances. And I don't know. To me, I was kind of shocked that that wasn't at least overturned a little bit. I was surprised the ref missed it in the beginning, and surprised they didn't go back to overturn that. But that was just a bizarre sequence that happened, and maybe one of those where like when you're in the relegation zones, you don't get that luck to bounce your way.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that it seems like Everton have kind of not been getting the breaks all year, really, and
Mhm.
they didn't catch a break here, and then they actually went down again to 9 men with Rondon in the 80th minute, and he's another player that we've kind of been down on all year. Especially with Dominic Calvert-Lewin out, he was the backup striker, and he just hasn't been good at all. And that could be a key. Maybe if they'd gotten someone with a little bit more experience, and maybe not as old. They got Rondon from like China too. So when Calvert-Lewin was out
See,
for most of the year, you,
right,
you don't have a striker to replace him.
and that is one. So I've tried to defend Rafa Benitez a lot this season, at least online. Um, One thing you can really have a go at him at is he's the reason he brought Rondon because he was with him in China, I think, and
Mm.
that not has not been good at all.
Mhm.
Like you said, another theme too with Everton and Leeds has been injuries really did kind of change their squad. I don't had they been fit most of the year. I don't think they're even close. Either of them are close to
Mm.
this kind of points total, and so we can talk a little bit about Everton, but Brentford were good on their own. To be fair to
Yeah.
them,
Mhm.
Jeremy actually texted after the second goal. That was the best like open play, maybe goal that they've had all season. It's a really great ball by Jensen to find Tony. Tony squares it, and then Weissa. I think he's just crossing the ball, but it goes in. But just
Yeah.
kind of like the passing that they were able to do, the combination passing and the extended passing that led up to
Mhm.
that. Jeremy was just over the moon for that. And then they were able to get two goals in the second half, both headers. But
Oh yeah. Two real quick goals, like 2 minutes apart, I think.
mhm.
And Jensen stepped up as well. Jensen's really stepped up. And Norgard is, I think he was voted the club player of the year, Norgard, and he had a good
Norgard's
game too.
yeah, Norgard's been very good for them. Yeah, I
Hmm.
can
And then
see that.
obviously Ericsson too, I think got an assist. So Ericsson has been really good as well. Hopefully they can keep him in the summer.
Yeah, in fact, we might get to it, but Jeremy saw some notes saying that he was really excited about maybe Spurs being in Champions League, just because we know this thing with Conte and him.
Hmm.
Conte and him were together in Inter when they won the title, and he is a little worried about that. He doesn't want to lose Ericsson, for obvious reasons, and
Oh yeah.
well, I guess that'll maybe be something to follow in the summer. You figure Ericsson will want to. Ericsson's goal is not probably not necessarily playing in the playing in the Champions League or whatnot, playing under the bright lights. Really, it's being fit for Denmark. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Brentford
all
can
about the World Cup.
Brentford can maybe offer that, but we'll see if the allure being back with Conte might be too hard to resist.
Yeah, in the Champions League or whatever, maybe Europa League, but probably Champions League too might be too much for him to resist. Hopefully not. Hopefully not though. But we'll see.
Maybe Pukki's got something for Conte.
He does.
Well,
Yes, please.
we'll see. And so I guess we'll get over the scenarios. It's not total doomsday for Everton. They do have a big game today, and one thing that's really big is I believe it's also at Goodison Park, and they've been actually pretty good under Lampard at Goodison Park. The fans have done well to back them, and so they do play Palace today. And if I think because of the way the points are, If Everton do get 3 points, I think I think that'll be 4 points that'll secure their safety. So,
Yeah, would be. Yeah,
so
yeah,
but
because
if but
they're going to play the 2 games, and Leeds only has that one. So,
but if they don't get the
cool.
3 points today. They only get one. They are putting they are letting other teams having a shot at them. So
Yeah, it could be potentially Sunday, the last day. It could be 3 teams all trying to avoid that 18th spot with Everton, Leeds, and Burnley, which is awesome for us to see. But man, it would be terrible if you were a fan of one of these 3 teams. It would just be a long Sunday.
yeah, I mean, you're definitely a big fan of Everton today. You don't want Everton to have anything to play for.
Yes, yeah, that would be great.
And so, I guess like really the scenarios are, we mentioned if Everton win today, they're safe. Um, Leeds control their fate now, but if Burnley get any kind of result to go their way, they'll be tied with Leeds going into the final say Sunday, and then really, I guess if Burnley get something today, um, really, maybe if they just draw Newcastle, I guess it'll depend what Leeds have to do. It'll force Leeds to get a result. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it definitely would. Yeah. Ooh, it's gonna be tight. This is what we want to see, though.
And so I was trying to think of that too. So like, I don't remember necessarily. I would say maybe the last time I was like this kind of excited just for the whole day, not just like the title race.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe when like Man City and United, even though that was mostly title race driven, uh, in
Ooh, yeah,
2012. Like
that was great. Yeah, that was a good one.
I can't remember like a final day with like having this much excitement. Like Jeremy mentioned something like when Blackpool were relegated, something like 5 teams uh were still kind of in it, and there were a lot of crazy results that happened that day too. But in the Man City game, um, or Man City United game in 2012. I don't know if people remember this, but QPR went into that game thinking they needed a result just to stay up,
That's right.
and
Yeah,
then when Man City like won at the last minute, QPR players might have been worried that they had just been relegated, but results like I think Bolton lost, so like results went their way and they were able to stay
that's
up.
right. Yeah, I do. I remember that. Being more. I don't know about you, but I was more focused on that City game and winning the title. But
Mhm.
it was also big games down at the bottom of the table too. Which obviously that crazy City game kind of overshadowed all that, and United having to like watch the rest of the City game like on their big stadium
Yeah,
TV too. But yeah, there's relegation stuff going on at the bottom of the table that was just as big and just as crazy.
and I remember, I think it was 18-19 when Liverpool lost to City by like a point. Their City were playing uh, maybe West Brom, and West Brom scored first. And there was like a chance, and then City won like 4-5, 4-5-1.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. Yeah.
but
They just flipped that switch.
I mean, there's just if you're like a neutral fan, I don't really know what really to do, because you're gonna have like 5 or 6, maybe 8 channels to watch.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna be streaming. So if
I
you
wish they had. I wish they had the goal zone for this. Like Premier
yeah,
League goal
that would be
zone
perfect for
would
this.
be
Yeah.
awesome. It would be. It really would be.
So I don't know. Just that kind of said. I mean, what's your plan, or like what are you looking forward to? Are you just gonna only watch it like City or Liverpool, or well, I guess you're watching the Arsenal game.
Yeah, I guess my main focus will be the Arsenal game, and then flipping between the Tottenham and Norwich game for sure. But
True.
I mean, I'm gonna keep my eye out on Leeds, Burnley for sure, and then definitely at the top of the table, City and Liverpool, how they're doing, because that's important too. It's gonna be crazy. I'm gonna be the remote will be in my hand the whole time. I'm gonna be flipping back and forth like a ton. I feel like.
I mean, it's gonna be rough for me because I'm probably gonna only watch Liverpool. Maybe I'll check in with City if the results are good. But normally I like
Yeah.
texting Jeremy about like what's happened during the Liverpool game, and normally he's like trying to semi-watch or trying to somewhat be interested. He's only gonna watch.
Mhm.
He's only gonna care about the Brentford and Leeds game. And it's like it doesn't really matter what Brentford do. And apparently
Brentford's good. Yeah.
apparently he really wants to like beat Leeds. He says like they have like some history or whatever. So
Oh,
that's
really?
kind of funny. Yeah.
Huh.
So he wants to relegate Leeds apparently.
It could happen.
Um. So I guess we'll get into a couple like open topics. Did you watch like any of the final yesterday? You see like
So, well, I saw the highlights, and then
yeah,
obviously I saw the Ramsey miss.
Ramsey miss.
Brought
Yeah.
on. He's brought on in the 117th minute,
I, I, t-
like basically just to take the PK, and he missed.
I tweeted, I was like, this feels like a game Ramsey can win, and that really blew up. That did not age well.
It did. It did though, and but he's been having just a torrid time. Ever. I mean, kind of since leaving Arsenal, but really just terrible with Rangers. I don't even know if he'll stay. He's just been awful. He's barely played, and when he does play, he's been bad.
Yeah, and it's just yeah, you kind of feel for Rangers because it seemed like they had his chance to actually win it before it even got to PKs. There was a ball that was kind of crossed in that I think it was Ryan Kent who looked he had a for sure goal, and out of nowhere Will tap or trap came flying in like a Spider Man to make a late save. But Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Frankfurt going to beat Rangers. Frankfurt were 10th in their league, so this gets them in the Champions League. And
Yeah.
I watched it live. I watched the post game. The kind of scenes that you saw in Frankfurt Stadium, it looked like I don't know, like some there had just been an election. People were like celebrating, just like crowds everywhere. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it was. I was happy to see a Scottish Premier League team in the final too, because
Mhm.
I mean,
You
we
feel like
always we
you feel like them winning it would have been really big for Scottish football.
yeah, yeah, I think so. But I also am kind of like just them making it all that way is kind of big too. And I mean, they got some good players, and Van Brockenhorst is their manager,
Hmm.
former Netherlands great. So I mean, that loss hurts a lot, but it might be something for them to build on.
I think so.
And it's usually about Celtic and Rangers in that league, but when you get them going far into Europe, it always helps because the Scottish Prem is fun too. It's like Spain with no sunshine, right, Ben? Isn't that
Yes,
your favorite
that is.
clip?
I think it was. I'll credit that to what that Tommy Smith guy from ESPN.
Yeah,
He,
Tommy
he
Smith.
he said that one time, and I just I balled over laughing.
Yeah. So yeah, I was happy. I kind of wanted Rangers to win, to be honest. But Frankfurt have a lot of good players too. Kamada is really fun to watch, and Rhoda, former Bayern guy, he got stitched up and lifted the trophy all bloody. So it was a good game. I mean, at times, first half was kind of boring, but
But it was
it's a
lively
good show.
second half. Yeah, it was lively second half.
Second half was
Yep.
amazing. Yeah,
And like
definitely.
weirdly enough, so I just watched Liverpool play in two finals where once it got to extra time, it was just dead. This extra time was actually pretty lively. So
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they actually went for it in extra time.
and so that's I guess that. I don't know. One thing we actually didn't say, Rex, with all this, with the kind of season that Arsenal's had, is I don't know if you remember this or not, but Amazon's probably been videoing all of this. Their Arsenal's going to be featured for the All or Nothing, and so I don't know, Rex. Are you gonna watch this? Are you excited to see
Oh
this?
yeah, I'm really excited. There's going to be a lot of juicy stuff, man. A lot. We got the Aubameyang stuff, a bunch of Aubameyang stuff. What else? I mean, I feel like there's just a ton.
I
When
feel
did they
like
start filming?
I feel
There
like
might be like a lot, like Induzy stuff. Maybe if they
ooh,
started filming last summer. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm super excited, man. I just hope Arsenal get portrayed in a good light. But I'm sure there are going to be some bad things.
I feel like Arteta would be very good at like being scary mad.
Yeah.
He just has
Oh yeah.
feels like he has that kind of demeanor. He seems like quiet and to himself. During his post games, but even he had a bit of a glare, or he had a scowl, I guess I would say, in that post game after Newcastle. He might have lit into him a little bit. It'll be
Yeah,
interesting to think about
I
that.
hope we get to see. Yeah, I hope we get to see some of like the, yelling at the players
If
at
like
halftime or at the
if
end of the
like
game.
if like the Spanish comes out or something.
Yeah, it might. Ooh, that's going to be exciting though. I can't wait for that.
And I guess that's a little of what we have to talk about. You did a good job of mentioning it in the beginning. There was big breaking news for U.S. soccer that happened yesterday, and there's been some agreement made for. I guess the way to put it is like equal pay, and
Mhm.
the women's team will now make the same as the men's. And what's kind of interesting is it seemed like it required the men to agree to this, and what's actually done is the U.S. men's side is actually going to be making less um, to do this, and so that's great on their end. And I
Mhm.
actually looked and saw that I think it's only us and maybe like is it Ireland? I don't want to say Northern Ireland. One of the Irelands
What
that
else?
have
Yeah.
that have agreed to this. So it's kind of unique that because we have Title IX, we think the college system is actually pretty good for the women's game as a unlike the men's here. Um,
Mhm.
our women's team really is better. It
Oh yeah.
probably it gets when they do these big farewell tours or do friendly games, they sell out. They do a good job of bringing crowds, and
Mhm.
they're always ranked up there as favorites for any kind of tournament they enter. So they definitely earned this. So it's good to
They
see.
have, yeah. Yeah. And one thing too, I was listening to a podcast actually today, this morning about it, and I think basically a big gap was in the prize money. Men got a lot more prize money,
Yeah,
even though they weren't doing as well. Obviously in World Cups, they weren't winning that much. So now basically all the prize money that both the women and the men's team get from FIFA is going to go into one pot, and
right.
then
That's it. Yeah.
basically at the end of the year, they're going to split that 50-50 between the men and the women's team. So hopefully, the prize money will be more equal too. Because, I mean, a couple of years ago, the prize money for women was just dreadful, man. It was like they're not getting anything for like playing in these World Cups.
I think I saw it was
So
7 million as opposed to like 13 for the men. So
13,
so it was a half.
whew, almost double. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun too. And yeah, like the men agreed. And I think Walker Zimmerman was kind of the ambassador
Oh, that's
for the
cool.
men's side, and
Nice.
he was good. I think he was pretty good with everything too, and I'm glad that the men were able to be like, yeah, the women deserve equal pay because they've been dominant, man, and they just keep winning World Cups. Olympics is big for them too, so I'm excited. And the women's game is growing. You mentioned like stadiums selling out. Barca women's, they played at the new camp and sold out there too. So it's definitely growing. England has been on the rise for women. That their Premier League has been good too, and
Yeah.
internationally they've been good.
When you have
Canada, it's all going up. I think.
when we've had like those few weeks when like there weren't any games on Sunday, NBC's actually offered to cover some of the women's Premier League, and
Yeah, yeah, I've watched them too. It's
I've
been
turned down.
fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I do.
the game
I
is
do
good.
notice that their facilities aren't great. They play at like the U19 stadium or
Yeah.
whatever. But I mean, like sometimes Man U women's have played at Old Trafford some, and Barca at the new camp. So I think we'll be seeing just the women playing more at the men's stadium too, especially if they continue to pack the crowd, pack the seats. Just more and more money. Everything seems to be going up. And that same podcast kind of mentioned soccer in the United States maybe overtaking baseball and hockey, kind of as like the number three sport behind football
Interesting.
and basketball here. So interesting times.
I mean, that would be. I've always kind of assumed that would eventually happen, but it
Yeah,
just hasn't. Yeah,
because
kind of.
baseball's just been on a downward slope,
Well,
and then hockey for me is more about the playoffs
I
for
mean,
me. But
when you think about it, if you're like growing up, unless you have like a park, it's hard to play baseball. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I guess you go to like a hitting range, but you have to
yeah,
have
batting cage or something. But yeah, who knows?
you
Like,
have to have like a huge field, and especially if you're playing with a real ball and maybe a metal bat,
yeah,
like a really huge field. That way you don't go into someone's yard or maybe you won't care about that. I don't know.
yeah,
Um,
because you can't even like go and like if we were playing, I couldn't like throw you pitches for you to hit because you could hit me with a pitch.
that too.
You could
Yeah.
bat it right back at me. So yeah, they got to get the batting cages and that net so the pitchers can throw and then hide behind the net.
Was
It's a lot of stuff.
where with which basketball just feels like is always going to have that edge where it's like all it takes is just all you need is like a hoop in your driveway. Like even with soccer,
Yeah.
it was kind of annoying for us after we after we hit the age 18, we didn't have our rec leagues. It was hard to
Yeah.
find a field.
It
Um,
was. We would get kicked off like all over the place trying to play on these fields, and I guess maintaining the grass. I don't
well, that
know.
too,
Now,
yeah.
well, now here too, we have a lot of turf fields coming up.
Mhm.
So I don't know how I honestly I hate the turf fields, but that opens up more because you can play in the rain and the snow it melts quicker on that. So I don't know. The game's on the rise here. Fields are getting nicer too. I don't know. It's exciting times. But I don't. They'll never catch football here, right?
Yeah,
I doubt
yeah.
that. No, no, definitely not.
Just something as stupid as like the NFL draft will have
Gosh,
we'll have just like I don't know 15 million turning in.
it's crazy. Even like on the Saturday day, the last day, where it's like the sixth round, it's like a bunch of numbers tuning in to watch. It's insane.
But I mean, I guess if you're a baseball fan, you've got baseball all the way year round. I guess basketball's kind of like that too. But if you
Yeah.
are just a football fan, honestly, that I feel like that's gotta suck because you get like 13, what is it, 16 weeks, well plus whatever the playoffs are. But your season
Mhm.
goes from like September to like January, and then after that, maybe I guess you have March Madness. But being a soccer fan, it is all year round.
It's yeah, summer too. I mean,
It is great.
summer sometimes is like the duller month, which I wish the World Cup was in the summer, man. It just makes the summer so much
Yeah,
spicier.
I mean,
But we'll have some stuff.
we'll
I
be
think we
some
have the women's Euros,
we'll be
right?
some Nations League fans
Yeah.
this summer, I guess.
I mean, last year was fun too with Gold Cup and Copa America. So
And
yeah,
Euros,
hopefully,
I,
and yeah.
I had
Oh
so much
gosh, yeah,
I had so much fun
it
with
was insane.
Euros.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And the timing was pretty good for those games. Like,
Perfect.
what were they like? 3 o'clock, 3:30 was like one of the times.
I
I
think
think.
I don't know if they had a seven. It was mostly like 9, 11, and like yeah, like two, something like that.
Yeah,
So
perfect, perfect.
as opposed to what the World Cup's going to be, I think you got to wake up at 5 for some of these.
Uh, yeah, that sucks. I hate that.
So
Be taping it.
be taping
I'm not waking up at 5 for much.
it. Well, like I don't necessarily know if it'll be the 5 game, but the day after Thanksgiving we play England. So
Yeah,
the last thing
that'd
I
be
want
great.
to
It's
do
gonna
is
be competing with college football
after
too.
Thanksgiving. Last thing I want to do is just wake up so early to watch. Maybe we'll get beaten. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see. Well,
true.
in Southgate we trust. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, maybe we can conjure up like that tie, like we did in 2010 when it went through Rob
There
Green's
we go.
legs
We need
for
we need
the
we need
1-1.
we need Rob Green again. That's it.
I do. I have a funny newspaper clipping too from that where it's like the title says USA win, and then it's like USA tie England 1-1, but they're like counting it as a win because it was England. It was pretty funny.
All right, man. Well, I guess that's it. Do you got any like closing thoughts or anything else you want to say?
Closing thoughts. I mean, just looking forward to Sunday. Might have to bring out multiple TVs. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll have two TVs going, and then maybe something on my phone, or just flipping back and forth a ton. But I'm really excited, man. It's been a fun year. I'm excited about Champions League final as well. Even the Conference League with
Let's
Roma
go.
is going to be interesting, I think. So yeah, I mean, everything's been great. Relegation battle's been good. It's been a fun year. I think you know, I'm also looking forward to the summer. My final thoughts, I guess, are just going to be on the summer, and it's going to be top to like, what are these bottom teams going to do if Everton stay up? How are they going to strengthen? If Everton get relegated, good players are going to be up for grabs because they don't want to be in the championship. And then on the other side, Newcastle with loads of money. City's already plotting a bunch. Holland, and I think they're trying to get a good left back. So I know it's going to be an interesting summer, and a lot will hinge on the final places in the table too, how much money they can get, whether they're in Europe or not. So it's interesting, man. It's just been a fun year, and I'm excited. Sad for it to come to an end, but like you said, we got summer stuff to look forward to also. So I'm excited.
All right, and actually, I just got the notification that my computer's about to die. So I'll wrap it up real quick. And thank you, Rex, for tuning in. Thanks people, I guess that have clicked on the link to watch. We are the
Yeah.
reserve squad. Normally we do a show. I think I think we're now doing it on Sundays. You can find us
Mhm.
on Twitch, Shinsky AP. I think I'll
Yeah.
put a link this time. I didn't do anything last time. It was more of like
We're
a
But you did put
practice.
us on YouTube. You put us on YouTube, so we're on YouTube
Yeah,
now.
we're finally
We
on
had a
YouTube.
decent amount of views, so keep looking at us at YouTube, and hopefully some of those people will check us out on Twitch over at Shinsky AP. So
Also, if you miss something you guys feel like we should cover, the comment section is open, so we'll be looking forward to, I guess we'll say, constructive criticism. We'll put it that way.
yeah, yeah, we can do that. We'll deal with that. We're
All right.
soccer players. We're used to constructive criticism.
There we go. All right. So with that said, I guess we'll throw it out. Rex, you want to say it? Or I guess we'll
All
both.
right, all right. You ready,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls?
You
You stay
stay squatty.
squatty, and stay squatty Sunday when we're back live on Twitch.
There we go. All right. And
Nice.
pause.